Welcome to the Blitz. I'm John Benson alongside Pat the Shark Maroney.
We are excited to be here. Weather was a bit of an issue tonight, but we still have a stacked show, and we'll start it off with a little David and Goliath matchup in Moultrie.
That's right, and 4A Chris County is looking for their first win of the season, and it was going to be a tough one against the #1 team in the state, the Colquitt County Packers. So here we go. The captains in the middle for the toss. Packers get the ball first. It is a packed house in the stadium. The Cougars defense stepped up, forcing the Packers to kick a field goal, and that is no good. Score still stays 0. However, same quarter, but this time Chase Parrish and company in the red zone. Saheem King finds the corner of the end zone for 6. That's the first touchdown of the night. Crisp County trying to get something going on offense, but Jarkavius Glover is stuffed at the line of scrimmage, forcing the punt. And you don't want to see this on your special teams. That punt is blocked. It is inside the 20-yard line for the 1st and 10. And we quickly go to the inside the 10-yard line. Chase Parrish on the bootleg connects with Keel Polar in the corner of the end zone. Colquitt County was rolling early, and for this one was a final score of 55-0. Now, like we said at the beginning of the show, weather was an issue for most of the nights, and over in the Hugh Mills Stadium, the Terrell County Green Wave took on Albany, and they were down at 3 minutes left before the first half when that lightning delay began. And that's all she wrote because they did not make it to halftime, so this is considered a no contest for this matchup.
Lee County's 2-0 record is a good start to the season, but perhaps the different ways in which they've won has been even more impressive. In Week 1 against Westover, they outslugged the Patriots in a 13-0 victory. Last week, they hung 49 points on the scoreboard in a blowout. Tonight, the Trojans hosted the Worth County Rams in Leesburg on that new turf field. On the first drive of the night, they take a shot. Garrett Morrell drops it in the bucket to Trey Eford on the go route. Lee would miss the extra point. They're up 6-0, but the Rams had some big plays up their sleeves. Eric Burrow takes the kickoff return, bursts through an arm tackle. He's off to the races. Nobody's going to catch him. 2 touchdowns in the first minute of the game. Always exciting. Lee County then moves quickly up the field. Morrell takes another shot, but there's Burrow again, soaring up for the pass deflection. Nice play there. But then the Trojans, they go over the middle. Morrell finds J.Q. Quimbley for a first down. He runs over a Worth defensive back in the process before being brought down inside the 5. Then high snap, but they get in the end zone. Hand it to the Bulldog, Jamal Gardner. Lee jumps back in front. But very next possession, Lee County lets Brandon Gibson bounce it outside, and nobody there is going to stop him. That is a fast young man. Worth County goes up 14-12. They would go up. Lee County would go up 26-14, but due to weather conditions, they would call it, and it would be a no contest. Now let's head out to Tift County. Brody Field will pick it up at the start of the second half. Tift County is up 17-0, and Luella's offense finding no room to run against a tough Blue Devil defense. Darius Stubbs is stuffed by a swarm of Blue Devils there. Now still 17-0. Barry Bennett runs between the tackles. Big gain up the middle, and then next play, Tajia Chambers with the quarterback keeper. He just will not go down. He fights his way into the end zone. Blue Devils take a 24-0 lead. Late third quarter, Will Thomas puts up a pass. This just smells of desperation. Picked off by Josh Ayero. Start of the fourth quarter now, 24-0. Tajia Chambers makes it 31-0, calling his own number once again, and that is the final. Tift County wins 31-0. We are just getting started here. It's rivalry week for some schools. We'll have the highlights. Fox 31's Doug Reardon will join us live from Fitzgerald's JC Stadium. It's all next on the Blitz.
Welcome back. One of the biggest rivalries in Southwest Georgia is when Berrien and Cook County get together on the gridiron. And tonight the stakes are high because both the Rebels and the Hornets are seeking their first win of the season. So here we go. Berrien made it to the trip to Cook County to take on John Lindsay's Hornets. He's the first-year head coach down there, threatening with weather conditions right before the game. Then the opening kickoff, Jalen Bennett with a great return here to start the game, and well, we got great possession. Same drive, Jalen Bennett gets the pass up the middle from Connor Hillard for the positive yards and to move those chain gains moving. First quarter, we're still going. Marlon Kajan, DeBerry fights his way into the end zone for the Cook score, 7-0. Hornets are up. Then Berry and ball. And there's Blake Gothry here, finds Luis Porcello for the long pass, and he finally gets brought down inside the red zone. Berry and drive stalls, and a field goal attempt is blocked by Sam Jackson, and the score remains 7-0. But look at this. Berrien with the win, 21-14 for your final. And speaking of rivalries, the Purple Hurricanes taking on Irwin County. And last year, this one ended in a tie. Fitzgerald dominates early with the run. Handoff to Talon Galden for the TD. PAT is no good, however, so Fitzgerald 6-0. In the 9th minute, Galden again takes it off for the first down. He's moving those chains. And then still in the same drive, Galden's first down that sets up Fitzgerald near the goal line. And a few plays later, Galden runs in for another touchdown. PAT again, no good. And then Gerald Morgan keeps it on the QB keeper for the touchdown run. 2-point conversion is no good, 18-0. And then Irwin goes 4 and out and punts it, and Graham is on the great return here. And then first drive of the second quarter on the 4th down, Graham runs it right into the Fitzgerald touchdown. PAT is good finally after that one. But your final, Fitzgerald running all over Irwin County, 40-12. And they call him Mr. Sporty Spice in all of Southwest Georgia, except for one county. Fox 31's Doug Reardon has all the insight from tonight's game of the week. Doug?
I would really like to know what county doesn't call me that. Not my nickname, but things happen, they catch on. It is what it is. Let's break into some game breakdown here. Now, of course, we picked a phenomenal game for our Week 3 game of the week. Fitzgerald being here at home against Irwin County in a game that folks have known around here for a long time as the Border Brawl. Now, the past has definitely favored Fitzgerald, no doubt about that. They have won 14 of the last 13 games. Well, in that last game, that was actually last year, they didn't necessarily lose. They actually tied with Irwin County, which ended up helping Irwin County for a more favorable spot come playoff time. But 1999, the last time that Irwin County bested Fitzgerald here on the gridiron, and the streak kept going tonight, obviously, with Fitzgerald beating up on Irwin County 40-12, and it looked much worse than that if you were watching the game from my perspective. They got out super early. Fitzgerald behind the on the back of a young man who you saw quite often in those highlights, Talon Galden. He scrambled for a couple touchdowns. I mean, you saw 2 out of the several that he had there. So just a phenomenal offensive performance and not much defense on the Irwin County side. So this is very, very promising for Fitzgerald. We've seen them twice already in our Game of the Week previews, in our Games of the Week. And we hope to see a lot of them in the near future because they are a very exciting team to watch. The offensive performance from their side has been nothing but spectacular in all of the games that we've seen them in this season, and we definitely hope to see that continue as the season progresses. John, Pat?
Thanks, Dougie. Looking sharp in the black polo. We're not done with the rivalries just yet. Pelham and Mitchell County resumed theirs about 7 years ago, and until last year, the Eagles owned the gridiron. And then Pelham flipped the script, and tonight they were at home trying to make it 2 in a row. And here we'll pick it up in the first quarter. Look at the band, always looking good out there for the Hornets. And then here we go, 3rd down play. Jimmy Flacker hands it off to Desmond Parker, and he kind of does the rest, drags a couple defenders with him. That is a 1st down near the goal line. Then very next play, DeMonte Franklin, they give him the rock. He carries it into the end zone for the touchdown. That puts the Hornets up. And then after the extra point, they got to kick it off. That's the rules. They kick it off to McKinley West. He catches the return, tries to make a big play, but Killian Seymour with the big hit, and they are forced to punt on that possession. I have a feeling we'll be seeing that play again soon. Here come the Hornets now, trying to keep the momentum up. They got the ball here in just a second, and Desmond Parker, though, this is never good. Coaches don't like this. He fumbles the rock. Terry Berkeley picks it up, returns it for a 30-yard touchdown, and then we're not done yet. Later on in the first half, this is, of course, a very good game. DeMonte Franklin runs it in for a Pelham touchdown. That puts him up once again. The final, Pelham wins the rivalry game 26-6. Dark clouds on the horizon in Ashburn. Turner County Rebels taking the field, getting ready for their matchup with Dooley County. 3rd and 17. Rob Calhoun drops back, lofts it to Tamarian Cherry for a Rebel first down. What a play there. Same series, 3rd and long again. Calhoun back, dropped by Antonius Clayton to force a punt. Dooley going for it on 4th and short. Jerome Presley with the keeper gets the yardage he needs and a little more, but stripped by Arcavius Burgess. Recovers for the Rebels. Calhoun now rolling out on 3rd down, puts it up for grabs. Quan Hillman battling everybody, comes down for the first down, and then Lorenzo Bolden with the keeper runs it to the outside. Nobody can catch him. Powers in for the touchdown. 7-0 Turner. That game is in the 4th. 37-15. Dooley County is winning. Now it's time for our player of the week. Any worries about Stephen Collier's replacement in Leesburg have been put to rest. Last week, the Trojans' new quarterback, Garrett Morrell, broke out in a big way. He completed 16 of 23 passes against Crisp County, piling up 314 yards passing, throwing for 4 touchdowns. Not bad for a guy just making his 2nd start. So congrats to Garrett Morrell for being our player of the week. And we'll go over to Mike for a little bit of a weather hit. Mike?
Absolutely. You know what? Great football tonight. Tomorrow evening, though, people may be traveling around the region to pick up on, well, some college football. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. We'll start, well, in Auburn. If you're going to Auburn, yeah, we do have chances for some rain. Temperatures into, well, the 80s for the most part. Maybe heading to Florida, into Tallahassee, where Florida State will be playing. Still a good chance for some rain, especially about 7 o'clock as the games are kicking off. And a lot of people will be traveling to Valdosta for this one. And look at those rain chances. Pretty good as you go through the evening. You may want to bring some rain gear, an umbrella. That would be a good idea. Temperature still fairly warm tomorrow evening. Now, more highlights and expert commentary from the Shark and Junkyard Dog John Benson is next.
Welcome back. As great as football is, it can be a little bit dangerous.
That's right, and head injuries are a hot topic throughout the sport, so let's take a look.
Concussions. A growing concern for athletes, parents, and coaches, especially in football.
We're more aware now. I think the deal with the NFL, you know, first really got it on the burner, and it's always kind of trickles down.
What exactly is a concussion? A concussion is a disturbance in brain function caused by a direct or indirect force to the head. So how does the medical staff know when someone has a concussion?
Blurred vision, dizziness, headache, some sort of brain disturbance such as mental confusion, unsteadiness, their balance.
Once a player is diagnosed with a concussion, the athletic training staff or doctor follow a strict protocol before the athlete can return to play.
We have to wait till they're asymptomatic, which means no symptoms at all. And once they go from that stage, we start them doing physical activities, working back. There's like a 5-step process that we have to follow to get them back to playing again.
One of the problems of today is the lack of medical staff for each practice. So today coaches are trained in case of an event.
Well, as a coach, I mean, first job is to make sure all the kids are safe, and you want to make sure if a kid has signs of concussions, because you know we have clinics we have to go through dealing with concussions, and that's a big issue.
In order to help make the game safer, new rules are in place to help prevent concussions from even happening.
They stress not any helmet-to-helmet contact, and that's helped a lot. Also, teaching better tackling techniques with the face up, you know, with the face guard, tackling there. That seems to help lessen. There's been studies done where wearing a mouthpiece seems to decrease the amount of concussion.
It's no guarantee a football player won't get a concussion, but everyday professionals learn more on how to treat them and continue to take precautions for every game and practice. I'm John Benson, Fox 31 Sports.
How about back to some football action with Baconton Charter hosting the Wildcats here. Wildcats won the toss, and on the opening drive, Kyle Moore, the senior, is weaving his way through some traffic. He'll actually get the first down, move those chains. Same drive with Darius Mentor here on the sweep and the stiff arm. Heads towards the sidelines, but his dancing feet can't keep him in bounds. He'll get the first down, however. The drive does stall. Now the Blazers on offense hit the field. And how about Garrison Dykes with the hard run up the middle to keep the drive alive? A few plays later, Sebastian Dykes with the handoff, but he's met in the backfield, forcing the punt. Bad communications on special teams, and the punter fumbles the long snap in great field position for the Wildcats. So on the first play on the turnover, that's Mentor once again with a nice move, finds some daylight, and he's off to the races, all the way to the house for 6. PAT no good for the cheerleaders, and they'll do a little push-ups for you there. The Blazers ended up running away with this one in the third, but Lightning is an issue, so 31-14 in this one.
Now let's jump into the GISA. Deerfield-Windsor played their first 2 games of the year on the road, but not just on the road, in Florida. Tonight, they had their home opener. Coach Alan Lowe and company certainly happy to be back home at Albany, and the Knights played like it too. Already up 15-0. They hand it to Will Calhoun here. He gets some blocks and moseys on into the end zone, almost untouched. 22-0 now. Defense dominant as well. Warriors try running it with Perry Bridges, but he's swallowed up by Deerfield's Aaron McNutt for a loss. Forced to punt, but the punter drops the ball, barely gets it off, but hold the phone. Laundry on the field. Refs call roughing the punter. Southwest Georgia gets a new set of downs. Then they throw it deep, but Nick Wendland ends any chance of that. Little Matt, he didn't take that one for himself, though. Then more running out of the shotgun, but nowhere to go. The Knights swarming all over the field tonight. Next drive now. Deerfield gets him with a bootleg. Tyler Lowe sees John Samuel Shanker all by himself out there. He's going to take it all the way to the crib. In for another score. Deerfield 29-0. There were lightning strikes and a delay, but that is your final. Now for our play of the week, you just saw it, and brace yourselves, folks. This one's a little nasty. Mitchell County returning a kickoff. Poor McKinley West doesn't know what's about to hit him. Bam. That one doesn't feel good tomorrow morning, or tomorrow, or even next week. So congrats to Pelham's Killian Seymour for making our play of the week.
What an amazing
hit. That one really looks like it hurts.
It did. But coming up next, we still have some more highlights, and we hear the sights and sounds from our college correspondents.
Welcome back. There's nothing worse than getting blown out on a Friday night.
Oh, absolutely. But tonight, 2 teams have a chance to bounce back in a big way. So here we go. We're going to Crisp Academy, where the Wildcats are in their home crowd taking on Westwood. First play is scrimmage. Collier Baggett passes it to Woody Harris for the first down and much more. Across the middle of the field, he'll take it all the way to the 11-yard line before finally being brought down. A couple of plays later, 4th and 1, Collier Baggett hands it off to Reed Ford for the touchdown, 7-0 Westwood. And we'll go, that's nice fans by the way, still in the first quarter, Collier Baggett calls his own number on the quarterback keeper for the touchdown, 14-0 Westwood. Next drive, Baggett hands it off to Chasen Warsham for 35 yards in for the touchdown, 21-0 Westwood. And this game was called in the third due to lightning as well, but the final, this was official, 35-0.
Well, before Mother Nature intervened, it looked like a fun scene out there in Cordele.
Right.
Our Darton correspondents were out there to capture the atmosphere.
We're here tonight at Bobby Davis Stadium for the Crystal Academy Wildcats versus the Westwood Wildcats game. Here's some sights and sounds from tonight's game. Now back to you, Pat and John.
Let's head out to Chula now for Tift Area and Frederica Academy. Quite a home field advantage at the Panther Pit for the Tift Area Panthers. Ryan Branch's team is ready to play. Ross Sutton with the handoff right up the gut, looking like a young Jerome Bettis. Goes for a big gain down to the 16-yard line. Frederica defense tightens up though. Good job tackling, barely grabs there. Bring down Ethan Mims for a loss. Now Hollisville gets the handoff, reverses field. That's ambitious. He's stripped of the ball, and Charlie Massey recovers for Tift Area deep in Frederica territory. And then Sutton, he wants the ball, and they fed him the ball. He gets the handoff. There he is, powering in for a touchdown. 2-point conversion makes it 15-0 Tift Area. And then Frederica's Nick Harrison drops back to pass. It's Sean Katia, and across the middle for a 15-yard TD to put Frederica on the board, 15-7 in the fourth quarter. Tift Area wins 21-9.
So now we'll go over to the fan of the week, one of my favorite parts of the night. And why don't you just rub the salt in the wound there. 18 and counting. However, that streak ended this evening. Berrien ended up winning 21-14 over Cook County. Those Cook County fans didn't see that coming, I'm sure, but what a great job by them painting themselves up with the shakers and everything in between. So what a great fan of the week crowd there out for the Cook County Berrien rivalry game there.
All right, here are some fans now. Thank you, Kerry Capello, for putting this together. There we are at Baconton.
Hey,
and wow, thanks for sending this in. You can always tweet us at WFXL. We're always looking to get our Blitz fans involved. So thank you very much for sending in your photos. If you send them in, we'll try to get you in next week. Last warning, everybody. Mike Morrison here just for guidance because tonight was so tough with the weather.
A little bit of weather out there tonight.
Yeah.
You know, well, hopefully next week a little drier.
Yes.
I like that.
All right, well, that'll do it. We'll see you next week for another episode of The Blitz.